Welcome to the Success with Listings podcast, where we help you get success in the real estate game the easy way. Now you can get off the roller coaster of feast and famine and out of the rat race of competing with every other agent in town. Hi, I'm Knolly Williams. I took over 1,000 listings during my first 10 years in the real estate game, and in this podcast, I show you how to have success with listings. Let's go. All right, so let's talk about this whole idea of a pipeline. Now, first, before I do that, how y'all doing, by the way? Show me a wave. Let me know everybody's doing, you guys are doing all right. Okay. A lot of you guys on the call this morning, and I appreciate that. So we're going to have a great time. I see Chris is in the house as well. We might call on you a little bit later, Chris. I might have a couple questions for you. In fact, why don't you do this, Chris? Be thinking about any questions that some of the masters have asked you recently, and maybe I can address those at the end of this. Because as we're getting more and more masters in, we want to make sure that they get their questions answered. I know recently we had Kevin was having some issues getting his business card ordered, and little things like that. We want to make sure that people, I mean, the issue wasn't on our end, but we want to make sure that people have the information that they need. So anything you can think of, Chris, just type it up and you can throw it in the chat, and we'll maybe discuss that toward the end. Okay, cool. All right, so everybody's doing good. What's up? Rebecca says, hey. All right, so this is the book we're studying from this morning. It's called Success with Listings. This is the book that I wrote. And I wrote this book because so many real estate agents, actually I wrote this book after I'd already taken 1,000 listings. So I waited to become successful until I wrote it, kind of build up that knowledge base, if you will. And so many people had wanted to pick my brain, and I really I don't love one-on-one. You know, I love doing the group thing. I love speaking on stages and meeting with a lot of people, but I don't love doing one-on-one. So to get out of actually having to do so much one-on-one coaching, I wrote a book and I put it all in here, 430 pages. And people wanted to pick my brain, so I picked it myself, and it took 430 pages to do. But if you've got the book, you can follow along, and we are on page 121. And right on page 120, I talk about time block for success. Time block for success. You guys already know about that. That's do the two. But when you do the two, what you're doing is you're doing lead generation. And so what does lead generation look like? That's the big question. So let's look at that. So there is a 4-stage lead life cycle. Okay, 4-stage lead life cycle for every single lead. Okay, and write down these stages, because this is very important. If you don't have the book in front of you, make sure you write this down, because it's very important to understand what these 4 stages are, so you don't get them out of order, and so that you also complete every single stage. Remember this: the fortune is in the follow-up. The fortune is in the follow-up. I had a coaching student, Andy Green. I've told you guys about him before. He was doing 25 million a year in production. And I had a talk just like I'm having right now. It was one coaching session that I had with him, and his production went from 25 million to 50 million, okay, after one coaching session. And we talked about what we're going to talk about right now today. He doubled his production, and he earned hundreds of thousands of dollars more, in fact, millions of dollars at this point more, just by implementing one simple strategy, and that is follow up. And by the way, he realized at the end of it all, he realized that he never would follow up with his clients or his prospects. No matter how much he was told to do it, he just wouldn't do it. And there's some of you listening to me right now, whether you're watching this live right now with me, you're part of our family here at Mentorship Masters, and you're watching this live, or maybe you're watching this after the fact on YouTube. Maybe one of our masters has shared this with you. And you realize that no matter what it is, well, there's something that's holding you back from actually doing the follow-up. And so what Andy did was he said, look, skip it. I'm just going to hire somebody to do the follow-up for me. We call that leverage. Okay, leverage. Remember, leverage is people, systems, and tools. And so he hired a VA. You know, I've got some wonderful VAs at my outdesk. Chris Capistrano is one of my VAs. He's been with me, a business partner is what I call him, for 7 years. He's been with me and making it happen. And so he hired a VA 4 hours a day. And you know what that VA did? All the VA did was, I call it clean up his mess. What the VA did was the VA followed up with his prospects. That's it. Just followed up. You know, he would get the prospect in and then he would get busy. He wouldn't follow up with people. So the VA, that was her job, to follow up. And that one hire doubled his income. And that's really what we're talking about right now when we talk about building a pipeline. So write this down. I told you I wanted to write down, but I didn't give you what to write down yet. So the 4-stage lead life cycle is this. Number 1, you generate the lead. Number 2, you capture the lead. Number 3, you incubate the lead. And number 4, you convert the lead. Okay? So you generate, you capture, you incubate, and you convert. And the magic happens in the middle. The magic happens in the middle. Now, most of my high D agents, you know, those of you that are knocking them down, you know, kicking them out, making it happen, you just want to generate a lead and convert it. Generate, convert, generate, convert. And so when you think about that, it's very similar to when you were on the dating scene. I don't know if any of you guys ever were on the dating scene. I actually skipped the dating scene, thank God. I had an arranged marriage. One day I'll tell you, I'll share that with you guys. But I was able to skip the dating scene. I see you guys. Yeah, there you go. Mark Phillips wrote them down. I like that. So think about the dating scene. Now imagine you go into a club. I know, come on now. We're a faith-based group, but I know some of y'all went club, and it's all right. It's okay with me. So you were in the club, and you see a young lady. You know, you gentlemen, you see a young lady that you know you have your eye on. Maybe you've seen her a couple of different times, and it would be the same as just walking over and saying, "Hey, let me have your phone number." You know, that's not how it works. You know, first you sit down with them, you get to know them a little bit, maybe buy them a drink. You know, there's a process to it, right? You don't just you don't just go right in like that. You know, so but a lot of people want to generate. Hey, are you ready to sell your house? No. 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 You ready to sell? Okay. Oh, you're ready. Okay, let's go. And then they want to go right after that person. Now think about our ancestors for a moment. Way back, our indigenous ancestors, they lived in feast or famine. Okay, that is not a place that you have to live. That's a place that you choose to live. Okay, what does Artemis teach us? Huh? Surviving, you know, is wired in, is hardwired. You know, thriving is a choice. That's what Artemis teaches us. So when you think about it, our ancestors were in feast or famine. They were hunter-gatherers, and they were always on the move. They moved where the food was, if you will. In many ways, that's a great strategy. In our day and age, though, we're able to fill our coffers, fill our pantry, fill our refrigerator, and we don't have to. In other words, they had to go out, kill, or pick and eat that day. Okay, and they couldn't save anything for tomorrow, so they only ate. You know, they went out and they grabbed the food and they ate that day. Well, now that's not what a pipeline is. And I'm going to teach you guys that's not the way to do business. Feast or famine is when you're just like, okay, I need my next deal. Where's my next deal? My bank account's looking empty. I got to go get a couple of deals. And then when your bank account starts looking low again, you do another deal. That's feast or famine. A pipeline is different. So we're going to talk about that in a minute. But first, just realize that you have to generate. And when you're doing the two, most of you guys are real good at generating the lead, and you're really good at converting the lead. But what you really want to get good at is capturing the lead. Okay, so all the leads that come into you through I call it putting out a lot of traps. So one of the reasons why I'm one of the top 10 recruiters at EXP out of over 40,000 agents, I'm one of the top 10 in terms of the number of agents on my front line. One of the reasons for that is that I put out a lot of traps. In scripture, it says in Proverbs, cast your bread upon many waters. Okay. So when you think about that, you think about a sort of a fisherman that has hooks out in a lot of places. You don't just have one hook out. That's why we teach the 3 buckets, right? And that's why we also teach multiple niches. So, so generating the leads is good, but for every lead you generate, you should capture the lead. You should have a capture mechanism, a lead capture form of some kind. Then you have to incubate the lead. And for most of you, I got to say it, for most of you, it's gonna come down to probably outsourcing that. In other words, getting a mother hen to nurture. Okay, we call it nurturing, we call it incubating those leads for you, because you're going to have leads that are not ready to close for a month, 2 months, a year. I've got people right now that are not going to join EXP for 2 years. They may not even join for 3 years. But what am I doing? I'm nurturing them. I'm incubating them. Okay. I have a gal I talked to yesterday. She said, I'm going to join Mentorship Masters in 1 year. It don't discourage me, because in 1 year, guess what? I'm going to have a new mentorship master. And so, and that's really what a pipeline is. So when you go to page 121, and then I carry it over through page 122, I talk about this whole idea of the 4-stage lead life cycle. Now, what I want to do, let me see if I have, do I have, oh yeah, let me use this. Tell you what I want to do is I want to kind of illustrate this for you. And I've got a marker that's not working here. All right, here's a good one. Okay, so I'm just going to draw a pipeline. Now, when you think about a pipeline, this is what I want you to think about. Okay, this is sort of like the beginning, and this is the ending. Okay, and today, what I'm really talking to you guys about more are concepts. I'm not really getting in, these are more generalities. I'm not getting specific with you, but what I want you to do is I want you to start thinking in terms of, do I have a pipeline? Okay. Not only do I have a pipeline, but what's in my pipeline? Okay. So what you'll notice is you're going to have stuff at every different stage of the pipeline. So this is, and you can kind of draw this on your own paper that you have there with you. So at the beginning of your pipeline, these are the leads that are coming into your business. Okay. These are the leads that are coming in. So, and by the way, there's so many leads. You've got hundreds and hundreds. If you want to do 40 to 50 deals this year, you're going to have to generate 100 or 150 leads to generate that 50 deals. So when you think about this, out there in the universe, these people are out there ready to come into your world, into your pipeline. In fact, there are people, you may not know this, but there are people right now that are studying you. Okay. They're studying you because they're like, I want to do business with that gal one day. Or I'm thinking about selling my house. Let me put it to you this way. When I used to go on a listing appointment, I realized that the last thing that a seller wanted to do was sit down with me. You think it's exciting for a seller to sit down with you and talk about selling their house? It's not exciting to them. It's the last thing they want to do. Put it this way. Let's say you want to buy a brand new car. Okay. Now, buying a brand new car might be exciting, might be a little scary. There's some excitement about it. But for most people, the last thing they want to do is go sit down with a car salesman. They just don't want to do that, right? So it's not the great thrill of somebody's life to sit down with Knolly Williams. I mean, so they don't. So I realize when I go on that listing appointment, they really, I mean, they're cordial, they're nice, they're happy to be with me and all that, but they really don't want to be sitting down with me. Okay, so so what that means is, as much as they can do as far as research about me before they sit down with me, they're going to do, because the last thing they want to do is sit down with me. Just like when you go buy a car, the last thing you want to do is sit down with a car salesman. So you're going to do a crap ton of research around the vehicle that you want to buy. You know, I remember when I bought my S550, I was even measuring. I even pulled up the vehicle and pull the measurements, and then I measured in my garage to see if it would fit. Y'all know I got a small house, right? So I even measured in my garage to see if the vehicle would fit. I found out all the specs about the car, did a lot of research on it because I didn't want to be sold. Okay. And so there's a lot of prospects out there that are out here. They're not in your pipeline yet. They're doing the research on you. And a lot of them, I got to say this, a lot of them will never enter your pipeline because the research that they did not lead them into your pipeline. Okay. Did not lead. So, and what I tell people is you've got to win the listing before you ever meet with the seller. You've got to win the listing before you ever meet with the seller. Now, if you're doing a good job of that, you're following what I teach you here every week, then they're going to get into your pipeline. Once they're in your pipeline, they're going to be, somewhere along the way. So, and by the way, there's some that are out here that are maybe a year out from selling, maybe 6 months out, maybe 3 months out. But once they get in, you're going to have people that are active. You're going to have people that are pending, and then you're going to have people that have already closed. Now, if they've already closed, they're still part of your pipeline because they're still part of your extended family. This reciprocates. So just because they end up here doesn't mean they're not going to end up back over here. And they should, okay, if you treat them right and you do the right thing, they should end up that way. So, and they've got a ton of other people that they know. Okay, every person knows a couple hundred people that can boomerang and get more business into the front of your pipeline. Okay, so what you want to think about is if you don't have a pipeline that's full, you don't have a business. Okay, if you don't have a pipeline, you don't have a business. Okay, so in your pipeline, it would look like, okay, I've got 3 properties under, for example, I'll give you my example. In order to do the volume that I wanted to do, I knew that I always had to have 18 properties in inventory. Okay, write that word down, inventory. What is your inventory? Okay, you go to Walmart or Target, they don't wait until they're down to the last can of beans before they restock. Okay, they got people out there restocking, and it's like, man, to think the shelf's already full, dude, and they're restocking. Okay, so that's what you want to be thinking about: is you never let this get empty. You never let it get low. So whatever your number is, I would say, in today's market, you wouldn't need to have 18 actives. You would maybe need, whatever your number is. It depends on how many. If you want to do 40 deals a year, you would want to have, say, 8 properties in your pipeline at all times. Okay, so either going toward closing, or just active, or under contract, or that kind of thing. So this is what you want to be thinking toward, is putting together a pipeline. And the whole thing about do the two is really set up only for the express purpose of you building a pipeline. I want to show you a couple things, and then I'm going to leave it to any comments and questions that you guys have. So put your comments together right now. I'm going to speak for about another 3 minutes, but I want to share with you real quick a couple of things. One is, let me see if I can find this. Oh, I think I know where it is here. Okay, so this may be a little difficult to see, but this is an old inventory sheet that I was able to pull up from when I was active in the business. So, I've kind of retired from the business. I still cap every year. I sell enough homes to cap, but I'm not active in the business like I used to be. I'm not making $700,000 or $800,000 a year like Stuart is, right? I make my 6 figures, and I'm happy with that. Now, when you look at this inventory sheet that I used to use, this was our new listings inventory snapshot. So this was a weekly thing that my assistant would send. So I wanted to know what new listings did we take that week, what listings closed that week, and what buyers closed that week. Okay. Now, most real estate agents track their closings, but that's not really what you want to track. That's going to be tracked for you. I mean, we have all kinds of back-end systems and tools that track your closings. You don't have to track your closings. You want to track your listings. Okay. How many are you in? How many are you getting in inventory? That's what you want to track. And then listings taken this month. So I had my weekly list here, and then I had my monthly list that we would keep track of. So we had six different areas where we would get our leads. So we had expireds that we worked. We had what we call allied resources, which were the mortgage companies, title companies, and other, insurance companies and other people that we were in business with. We would get a lot of referrals from them. Builder alliances. So those of you that run a great builder business, I actually had 2 agents that ran my builder business for me with new construction. And so what new homes did we have that we got from our builder alliances? Then I was doing a lot of short sales. And by the way, this was our goals. So, and this was when I had built the team up to do 400 deals a year. We expected to do 5 expireds, 5 from our allied, 5 from our builder group, 8 short sales, 8 from our sphere of influence. 5 from our sphere of influence, and then 8 from our geographic farm. So whatever those numbers are for you, that's kind of how we had our buckets separated, and that just gives you an idea of the way we did it. I thought there was one other thing. No, there's that's it. So I'm just showing you that by way of example. Now, one of the questions I get is, what kind of pipeline should I have? And I want to kind of keep this evergreen. So essentially, you should have the kind of pipeline that works for you. It could be a spreadsheet. It could be a software program. It really doesn't matter. Some of the biggest dogs in the business, their pipeline is I call it a tablet. One of these, not the tablet you think of, but I don't have mine here, but just a writing tablet. I can't stand to do it that way personally, but that's what some people do. Whatever system works for you, remember, it's all based on your personality profile as to how you're going to run your business. Okay. I was at a panel one time at ClickFunnels, or it was Jeff Walker was doing a panel. Product launch is his big thing, and he was doing a panel, and he asked the people, "What do you use to track, to do this tracking and to build your funnels and to do everything?" And I think he had like 6 people, and all 6 of them had a different answer for what they used. And so everybody's going to use something different. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about the details. What you want to focus on is doing the whole concept of a pipeline. So, all right. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys today. And your homework assignment for this week is to develop a pipeline for your business. That's it. Develop a pipeline for your business. Sit down, decide. First of all, read the pages in the book that we just talked about, pages 121 and 122 in Success with Listings. Read those 2 pages, and then decide how many properties that you need to have in inventory to meet your goals, and then build your pipeline. Put together your pipeline, and then have it visually represented in front of you so that you can see how your pipeline is looking at all times. Hope that's been helpful for you guys. That is $1 million tip. It certainly worked for Andy Green. And let me just calculate real quickly how much this tip earned Andy. So he did 25 million in additional sales. So he earned an extra $700,000 a year with that tip that I just gave you.
Well, thanks so much for tuning into this episode of the Success with Listings podcast. If you are serious about taking your real estate career to the highest heights, making more money and helping more clients while working less hours and spending more time with your family, be sure to get your copy of my free book, Triple My Listing, absolutely free at successwithlistings.com. Now, you want to be sure that you subscribe to the podcast
and check out successwithlistings.com to get your copy of my free book. Hey, I'll see you on the next one.